We've had a couple of these house calls in the last 6 months, and it reminds me of the old click and clack.
The car guys, yeah.
Tappet brothers.
One of them died like 15 years ago, and they think they still run the program. I think they do. It was on NP Public Radio.
Yes,
it was, NPR or something.
But so these are house calls where we check back with a caller from the past, and we see how our advice went.
And last time, it was around this time of year, a year ago, we spoke with Ken. Ken's not an Allworth client, but he is an avid listener of this podcast. And at that time, his goal was to be the most tax efficient as possible in his long-term financial planning, with planning for his retirement in a few years with some income coming in, and also maximizing the tax-free amount that his kids will receive as inheritance. So,
just as a disclaimer, the reason we say he's not a client is not because we'd love for him to be a client of the firm. It's because
securities regulations. If he's a client,
we have to say that this experience is probably not indicative of everyone.
Yeah, then it's an endorsement of some sort.
Yes. So that's why
and if we're going to get an endorsement, we're not going to get it for someone like Ken. We're going to get like a celebrity endorsement, like a football player,
or Tom Selleck,
a washed-up actor. I didn't mean Tom Selleck wasn't a washed-up actor. Anyway, let's listen to the clip.
My wife and I, obviously married a long time. We have 3 children, mid-20s to late 20s. And I am thinking ahead of time. And we have an issue with tax-deferred IRAs and 401ks. We're not retired yet, but the current value is approximately $5 million.
How old are you?
I am 57. So is my wife.
And so you're talking about 401ks and IRAs?
Correct.
$5 million.
Self-employed. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have a rough date when we want to retire. That future value of that, based on an assumption of 7%, would be $6.4 million.
So you plan on retiring in a few years?
Yeah, probably 2.5, 3 years.
Is your business something you can sell?
It's something, yes, I can sell, but it's not something that would bring in. It's more of a service type business.
Uh-huh.
It's not going to be very useful or expensive.
The tax deferred accounts, qualified accounts, were those? Were you overfunding a pension plan for yourself?
Yeah, so we have a defined benefit plan. Yeah.
Okay,
and you're the only employee of the company,
as well as my wife. Although she wasn't on payroll the whole time as she was raising our children.
Uh-huh.
So 95% of those funds are in my name.
Okay.
And only about 5% in her name.
Okay. Hey, Scott, can we step back for a second? So, Ken, brilliant, by the way. For the rest of the listeners, because Ken is self-employed, he has a defined benefit pension plan, which is kind of a quirk that allows him to put a lot of money away if he wants to, because it defines a benefit in the future.
You're not limited like a typical 401k.
Or an IRA. So it defines a benefit in the future. So you see this a lot with professionals, architects that are self-employed, or doctors or dentists that are self-employed, anesthesiologists that are in a group.
That's right. Yeah.
This is where you actually see this done. And I go through the list, and Ken's like, check, 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 check. I'm one of those.
Yeah, and that's why you hit it on the head. When I said service industry, you knew that selling the business, there's not much value.
Yeah. That's right.
Unless you want to keep working.
Exactly.
And how much? What's your income been the last couple of years? And pretending like you didn't contribute to the defined benefit plan.
Without the contributions to the defined benefit, what's your
so
income?
My AGI?
Yes.
About 335.
All right. So, and then how much have you been contributing to the pension?
About the defined benefit, about 95.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
But we're also contributing or fully maxing out a Roth 401k. Both of us.
Yeah, but you're not bothered by that because that's not the issue you called about, obviously.
How much money is in the Roth side of these qualified plans?
So the Roth has about 425, and if we, once again, assuming a 7%, return per year, at 75, it should be worth about 1.8. There's different layers to this. And it's somewhat, that's why I wanted to talk to you guys.
Yeah.
About this.
So what's your question?
So we would like to leave our children something, and we know that it's better for, at this point in time with the way the laws are, a step up in basis on our brokerage as well as our Roth. So we want to go through, and once we retire, start Roth converting from the deferred accounts. Okay.
How
My
much-
thought.
How much do you have in brokerage?
I have, and you might remember this conversation. I have invested in tax-free munis for quite a while, where we're able to live off the tax-free muni income, plus we have some rentals, and plus some, minor dividends and taxable interest. So the plan is that would be our minimum that we would live off of.
But you don't have anything in there that has a step up in basis to speak of that other than the real estate.
No, the brokerages would all be step up. The munis plus our equities would definitely be all stepped up in basis.
How much do you have in equities?
2.6.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That makes sense. You were just, you said earlier, I've got munis in there. Okay. All right.
What's your net worth?
Honestly, I haven't added it up,
Okay.
but it's probably 10 plus.
Okay.
This is more of a family long time planning. Because
Yeah, I get it.
Where I'm going with this is I don't want to touch the brokerage or the Roth and try to spend down or convert the other deferred until about 75, because the way I've planned it is the tax-free munis should be able to give us income until we turn 25. That's where the maturities level out.
I disagree. I think there's a mistake here.
Okay.
I don't understand why you have tax-free munis.
Because
What do you mean?
we're getting
No, but
okay. Yeah.
but look,
In his tax bracket? What's wrong with
no,
tax
no,
bracket?
no. With this size estate, you should have nothing but equities in that brokerage account to get the full step up in basis, and you should replicate that fixed income inside of the qualified plans,
I would agree with that.
right?
So in other words, if you could wave a wand and say, I'm going to take $1 million and my brokerage account, I'm going to sell the equities and have $1 million of fixed income, taxable fixed income, because it's in a taxable account. And at the same time, I'm going to sell my munis and buy $1 million of equities.
So
in the
here-
brokerage.
That's right. So Ken, when we think about this, and I did interrupt you here, but just before you go into this line of thought, so what you just said to us is, look, I have earmarked a portion of this portfolio that I plan on not spending, which was your brokerage account, but you're taking the income off the tax-free munis, which you said is a minimum I need to live on. I would look at this and I'd say, I think that brokerage account and the Roth all goes to the kids on a step up in basis, even maybe a little bit before, where we actually gift some of those stocks to them if they're in a lower tax bracket than you are. I would when you go to retire, I'd start a distribution from the 401ks and IRAs immediately to live on, right? To live on. And if I had anything excess over that for tax reasons, I'd think about converting to a Roth.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
So then what would happen is, and this is exactly how I manage my own money. There is a portion that I know is going to my kids that they will not. And by the way, we sit down and I explain to them, this is my investment thesis. This real estate, this stock, this will go to you when your mother and I pass. And this is why. Right. And so what you want to do is take advantage of that step up in basis. And so you're taking a diminished return on those munis. And my point being is you're going to have to pay taxes on the IRAs at some point in time anyway. Let's just start that earlier rather than later and get rid of the munis altogether.
And if you replace those munis with a stock portfolio that's going to grow fairly tax efficient and have a stepped-up basis, you're essentially going to be eliminating most of the taxes on that anyway.
That's right. And you're going to end up, there's going to be more net worth in 20, 30 years by using that technique and taking the income from the IRS today. I think you're too focused on the Roth conversion. I don't know if the Roth conversion is exactly the right thing for you. My guess is it's not. My guess is that you're probably better off leaving everything else alone and then start taking the income from that IRA and then deciding after that income why. I know you're certainly better off doing that than you are living off these tax-free munis. There's no question in my mind. Right? Because the Roth conversion, remember, the tax-free muni.
So and Pat, your approach, and if people are like, why doesn't Pat like, it's not you don't like tax-free munis. You're thinking, if we have an allocation, let's just say our allocation is 50% in fixed income, 50% equities, just to be really clear on this, right? And the objective is to have this tax efficient as much as possible so that our kids have the most amount to inherit. Rather than own munis in a taxable account and equities in our tax-deferred account, let's flip it. Let's own that fixed income in our retirement account. And if we're going to do that, there's no sense owning munis because it's all taxable there anyway. So now we can go from something that was yielding us 3% to something that's yielding us 5%.
So Ken is with us now. Ken, welcome back.
Thanks to you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's been a little bit over a year.
Yeah, we threw some stones in your plan. So
hopefully you went back and re-listened to that call a couple times to kind of absorb it because there was a lot going on there.
Yeah, I went over it about a half dozen times, and it's been 13 months. A lot has happened in that 13 months. A lot of volatility, a lot of moving parts.
Okay.
With everything. And one of the things that was most difficult is I've been very comfortable with those munis. And there's a reason why behavioral finance gets so much attention these days, is because you're fighting with yourself on something.
Well, sometimes there's a balance between no one knows what perfection is because it's all based on future outcomes, right? So, but here's what, kind of the ideal is, and here's what my human nature is compelling me to do. So is there some happy medium where I'm pretty close to what kind of the ultimate plan would be, but yet I'm still comfortable with the position we're taking. So.
Right. And I understand, Pat was pretty adamant about, selling them right away. There was just a few things besides, fighting myself. There was also the fact that 13 months ago, interest rates were pretty high. So we had unrealized losses on those muni bonds. So what I've done is kind of that happy medium you were talking about is as some of these bonds have naturally run off the balance sheet through either bond calls or maturation, I've put that money into separate managed accounts or direct indexing, as you guys suggested.
Okay.
So once again, that's a new concept for me. And I understand the concept behind it and why you recommended, especially the tax loss harvesting factor.
And then at that time, are you concurrently reducing the equities in your tax deferred accounts?
So that our
some other fixed income,
so that our tax to bond ratios stay constant.
No, because with the accelerated, appreciation in the market, the bonds have actually, even though, we're running it off naturally, equities have continued to appreciate. So naturally, the percentage of bonds in our overall portfolio have gone down as well.
Right.
What is the percentage of bonds in the overall portfolio?
It's approximately 25 to 30%.
I mean, I think Pat's the premise was let's make a change without changing our allocation of stock to bond. Changing our allocation of stock to bonds is kind of a second.
You could do that, but that wasn't what we were focusing on. But what I was trying to do was I was trying to get the delta, the difference between the yields on a taxable account, a taxable bond, and a tax-free bond. And you were giving up
essentially not changing any risk structure to the portfolio.
That's all, which is okay if you change the risk structure, but that wasn't the focus that I was trying to relay there. It was, look, if I've got so I live in the state of California, and let's say I got a 3% West Covina municipal bond, which is a West
Covina.
I have a 3% muni bond. I could get something equivalent yield in a company that would have paid 5%. And because that was in my IRA, and you pay distributions on all taxable money that comes out of an IRA, either living or dead or Roth conversion, I was giving myself that delta, that 2% higher rate of return in my overall net worth. That was the whole concept behind it. Okay.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, you're just saying swap out the munis in your brokerage account and buy bonds in your retirement account.
That's exactly
it. Because your tax-deferred retirement account is so large relative to your overall.
That's right. And I wish I would have given you my cell number after the phone call, because if you had told me you weren't selling the bonds because you would have a realized loss, I would have congratulated you and said, "That's awesome. Let's realize that loss." Because if
then get the gain of a bond inside that.
It's a lateral move. It's 100% lateral move. The only difference is I've got a little bit of tax arbitrage there.
Right. So, going back to the direct indexing that you recommended, is it in my particular situation where I will be taking monies out of my retirement account and have to pay the taxes? Am I thinking about this clearly? If I'm tax harvesting and keeping those losses, and then I'm selling stocks, appreciated stock, out of the brokerage account, and not paying the capital gains tax because I have all this harvesting, and paying the tax on ordinary income when I take it out of the retirement account.
That's correct.
Okay.
I wouldn't get too aggressive on the tax loss harvesting with the direct index, and you can kind of dial those things as aggressive or conservative on the tax loss. Just because if we knew you were going to have some massive capital gain in the future, then we'd say let's be aggressive on the losses so we can carry those forward to the future. But
Ken, do
you have a financial advisor you work with?
I have someone who I have a loose relationship with. He's kind of a young guy at a large, and I won't say the name, brokerage, and I'm kind of working with him to see. My biggest thing is no one's going to think about your money better than you are. And if something happens to me, I kind of want to vet this guy over a period of time and have him work with my wife, because my wife has no interest in what I'm doing.
That's prudent. That makes sense. The thing is
giving
that
them little things. Yeah,
you are giving them.
So I would do the financial plan more than I would be focused more on an overall financial plan, where you can do some what-if scenarios. Like Pat made that recommendation. If I do that, what's that going to make my net worth going to look like 20 years out? Oh, if I do this, what's that going to look? If I do the direct indexing and I harvest some losses and I sell some other stocks in the future to do a Roth conversion, how's that going to appear in my plan?
But Ken was so clear in his direction. You truly, Ken, when you said this is what my objective is, I want to leave as much money to my children, this amount of money, and it makes sense to leave it in the Roth IRA and the brokerage account because of the step up in basis. The answers were relatively easy to come to because you were very clear in your objective. It just, that was reality. And where we fell down a little bit was on the execution. Your advisor should have said to you, I'm not going to beat up on this kid because I don't know him, and I can't believe I just called him a kid. But he should have said to you, we should harvest every bit of loss right now, especially in muni bonds.
Because you're not locking a loss forever because you're doing a like-for-like investment.
Even if you had, we weren't doing that strategy, you'd recognize every muni bond loss and buy something
equivalent,
similar the same day.
Yeah.
And the reason is the bond market's much larger than the stock market. Much, much larger.
Right.
It's so much easier to take losses in the bond market than the stock market because
Right.
you can get an equivalent.
Pat, one thing you said in that call 13 months ago that I can't wrap my head around is the fact you said, I would take the money out of your IRAs and live off that and not convert to Roth. I think it's a mistake going to Roth, where I don't see why that would be, because between, let's say, 60 and 75 before RMDs, that's your really only opportunity to convert to Roth and have that money sitting aside, growing tax-free forever, and you can take some out if you need it.
Correct. But so what happens, though? We probably should have clarified on that. You are correct. You couldn't be more right. But what you don't want to do is convert to Roth and forgive income because you want more on the Roth conversion, so you're sacrificing lifestyle. Someone like you, it's going to be really hard for you to spend money. It's just flat out.
That's why you have as much as you have.
It's going to be. It's not.
I know.
It's not easy. Look, I'm 62.
There are some clients who are like, no, we're going to send you a check. A check is going to be deposited into your check, or a wire into your checking account every month, because otherwise people won't spend it.
Yes.
Like, well, how much are the dividends from that account?
So the idea is that we set an income level, and then for tax purposes, if it makes sense,
Figure
if
out
there's
the
any
best way to
margin after that, then you do the Roth.
Right. And maybe there's a blending of the two, but you're right. I grew up poor, super saver. I've read the book Die with Zero, and I know
You
myself.
can't.
I cannot do, and people can say whatever you want. If you don't fly first class, your kids will.
That's right. You've listened to the show before.
but he doesn't fly first class.
Yeah, you should be flying first
I've
class,
never
though.
flown.
No, that's
I have
funny.
never even flown business class.
Oh,
Premium economy. That's as long as.
Dang it! I
that's
wish.
as far as I go.
Look, we got to do some coaching. Not in a really fancy restaurant either. Someone with a value meal, and we could actually
Chili's.
talk about trying to. I have converted clients into flying first class because their net worth
By
is
the way,
so high.
that's just one example of spending a little more money for a little bit.
The other is charitable,
comfort.
which makes it a little bit more difficult. The other is gifting to children. The gifting to children is really difficult
Because you see how they spend it?
because you see how they consume it, and you think, I'd never do that. Of course. And then it changes your view of gifting.
I watch the way my daughter shops in the grocery store. Like, there's no looking at prices. Like, oh, it's all organic. Just like, she just puts everything in the basket. And I'm thinking, I grew up, it's like you look at everything. There's this brand is $2.99 and this one's $2.49. I'm buying the $2.49.
You like the Lady Lee
I
brand.
buy the plain wrap stuff or whatever.
Lady Lee. So you're what you were correct in the summary that when I said not the Roth conversion, what I probably should have clarified is set the income first. And then if the Roth conversion happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you're correct. It's between the ages of now and required minimum distributions. You want to do the Roth conversion, but you really want to spend a little bit of time picking out what you are super comfortable. It might be a 3% distribution from the total, or it might be 2.5%, or it could be 4% of your investable assets. And then starting that income and spending to it. And when I say spending to it, it's not easy. Look, I've been on, this is a little self-confession. I have been on 5 safaris.
Have you really?
Yes.
Well, you went and climbed and hid with the gorillas or something.
We
right?
we went to Rwanda to.
And Pat, I've known Pat for 35 years. One of the cheapest guys I know.
Super cheap.
He would negotiate at the grocery store. I mean, the stories I've heard of you trying to negotiate, you get them the
cheap.
price from everybody.
Oh yeah, when you open the cereal package and take the coupon out before you buy it, that was me. That was me. We didn't grow up with much, but I got to tell you, getting to that, and you worked hard for this. You didn't land on third base and acted like you hit a triple. You worked hard for it. Setting that mindset where you set yourself a budget and you spend to it is super healthy because you're going to enjoy your retirement much, much more. And I've learned this from clients time and time again that say to me,
And you've learned it personally.
and personally, yes. I mean, I would go on another safari. If you said, let's go Ken, I'd say, well, I've never spent any time with you, Ken, but I'm available tomorrow. Let's go. Unfortunately, my wife won't go anymore. So she's had enough of the wild animals.
It's not easy going to Africa and back.
Anyway.
I've done
So Ken, does that, any questions for us or?
No, but I do have a comment or a statement. And, I've listened to you guys for years, and I understand that you guys are kind of slowing down work-wise, and that's great. You guys are at that same age where you probably will be, that you deserve it. You've worked hard, like you said. But I got to tell you, you guys really do a service to the public. I know you guys have a lot of listeners on the podcast, but you guys really, I can't emphasize this enough, how valuable you guys are.
Well, thank you.
I
For
appreciate
the normal
that, Ken.
people out here who are trying to get through this and trying to figure things out. And I just hope you guys are on the air for quite a bit.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank
I
you.
appreciate that.
So Ken, my wife has accused me of retiring but not telling anyone. So she said, are you sure you didn't quit work and no one knows? So
We're not as active as we once were.
that is most certainly. And anyway, you've done a great job saving. Congratulations to you and your family. Spend a lot of time talking about money with those kids before you start gifting to it or they inherit it.
You know what? One more thing. You guys said gifting to children, which is difficult, but it's even more difficult because I've thought about that. When you have children who are extremely responsible and then the ones
That's
who
right.
are not. And trying to balance that and thinking, if I do it for one, I have to do it
That's
for
right.
the others.
Yes.
And
I
that's
struggle
just a real
too.
world problem.
I've got 4 kids.
Well, here, I tell
They're
you.
not all the same, that's for sure.
I have, as soon as the kids got any small amount of money, I hired an advisor for each one of them. Happens to be at Allworth. And the reason is I wanted that external counsel for each one of the children to how they think about money. And yeah, it's really,
But it's
but
still
it's
Dad's
difficult.
advisor.
That's right.
It's-
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's not-
but
it's not
but
their
you're
own
right. It
choice.
is difficult because they're all different, right? I mean,
Right. And then, one's going to use it to buy a house and the other one's going to use it to go to Bali for a great week or two or whatever it is.
that's right. And we don't know who's right.
That's true.
Right? Who knows?
Well, I'm watching my college freshman blow through her savings in the first few weeks of college, and I know that's not right. I'm
Okay,
like, this
that's-
is not going to end well for you, babe. But,
Okay,
'cause
but
I don't give you much allotment.
have fun.
You got
Anyway,
room and board.
thanks, Ken. Appreciate the call.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.